where
Yeah.
did the idea of God's petting you come from?
Yeah. I think it was inspired by those films I used to sneak downstairs to watch as a kid. So like when I was way too young and yeah, mum and dad would have gone to bed and I sat down and would watch True Romance or Natural Born Killers or Pulp Fiction or whatever. All of those movies that at the time and whatever there was hype around them, they were considered, I guess, um, you know, like downgrade what's like happening, the characters, all of that. It's not particularly cool. But for me, they were, and I always, I wanted to make one of those movies. I wanted to make a movie that people would sneak downstairs and watch. Um, so that's kind of where it came from. And then I think I'd done a documentary with Benedict, and was just fat, who plays Jimmy in the movie, was fascinated by him and like charmed by him, but equally intimidated by him. Like I'd never like seen shoulders like it, or like his thighs were like the size of my like waist.
Keep
And
going. Tell us
yeah,
more about him.
yeah, and then
What is
his
feet like?
his soft skin. No, he was look, he's in good nick, he's in great nick. But he's the nicest, politest, charm, most interesting, smart man. And I just thought, whoa, you're such an interesting character. So the idea of Jimmy and him being a porn star, and kind of I started with almost my bad guy, and I was like, okay, well, I know I want to have this sort of love story, and I want those characters to kind of be fucked up. I want everyone in this movie to kind of be a little bit fucked up. So I guess that's kind of it's where it came from. And there's a particular scene in it where someone gets slapped with something. That was actually one of the first scenes that came to me. And I kind of like the other day I compared this to like when Tom Cruise does a movie and he says, I want to jump out of a plane, I want to do this, and then they write the film around it. I was like, I want someone to get slapped in the face with a willy. Let's figure out the. Can we say? I'm still not sure. Do we say willy? Do we say penis? Cock feels too aggressive. So I'm going
You can
with
say what you like, and then if it's a problem, then I'll bleep it. But
fantastic. Okay,
His
we'll go
massive
with
knob.
his yeah, no, yeah. He's got Anyway, so that's kind of where it came from, really. And it was years ago. I think I wrote it maybe 7 years ago, give or take, and only had like 50 or 60 pages. And then me and George developed it for ages and added loads of stuff in it. And then Sky added stuff to it, and it sort of then became what it is.
so, how was it making the film in such a short amount of time? I mean, was it 10 days of shooting, roughly?
Yeah. How was it for you, George?
Yeah, 10 days. It was exhausting. Like with stuff like that, I feel like your body gets you through it. But by day 8, I think my body had shut down. And there's some scenes in there where my voice is just gone. And I'm really trying, but there's like nothing coming out. So I think like it's physically exhausting, it's mentally exhausting, but you're in a small team and everybody's coming in, rain or shine, and pulling together. And it's just a joy at that stage. And it's just great to make stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like you spend so much time dreaming of making stuff and waiting to make unique and interesting things, and when it comes along, you're like, yeah, we'll just give everything to it. So yeah, it was enjoyable pain, I'd say, if I could summarize it.
Yeah. And this one's for you, George. I suppose what was kind of the first thing you latched onto when kind of getting introduced to the character of Charlie?
Well, I think the first thing that kind of like made me go, was the way that Jamie had written Charlie's background, not necessarily being he struggles with addiction, but that doesn't define him. He's there's more to him than that. He's got a life, he's semi-functioning, he's got a job. And then when I was doing research on the character, you find people all over the world who deal with that, who they are heroin addicts, yes, but they're also boyfriends, partners, husbands, wives, bankers, whatever. And actually I found that quite interesting, that this doesn't sort of demonize addiction, or it doesn't say it's a particularly good idea, but it certainly just sort of gave it a different flavor of seeing these sorts of characters before. And yeah, so I think that was kind of the initial spark that I was like, that's interesting, let's go down that route.
Had you guys
I thought it was because he. You said to me, George, it's because you always wanted to get slapped in the face with a willy. That's what you said to me.
Yeah, but if you also remember, directly after that, I said never tell anyone that, and
Ah,
then
that
you've
was
just
it.
gone and done that.
That was it. I did forget that
yeah,
bit. I did forget that
no
bit. I'm
worries,
so
no worries.
sorry.
It happens, mate. It's all right. It's all right. No worries.
what was it like to get slapped in the face with a willy?
Did you write that question down, Kieran? Or has that just come to you?
Yeah, it's just come to me. Yeah.
Great, love it. With spitballing. Yeah, it was kind of shocking. It was kind of I remember when we've done, like, you do a few table reads and the script had gone for a different couple of incarnations where we'd get around a table, we'd get everyone together and we'd read it, and that scene always read funny. It always just read as, oh, this is a ridiculous thing. And then suddenly the day we get to film it, I think I tweaked it before anybody else, going, this is actually quite dark. I'm like covered in blood in the scene. I'm like crawling across my broken living room with this giant man in front of me. And yeah, it was there was also the option to use a prosthetic. Jamie did float that to me. It was like, we can try and use a fake one.
But you were adamant, weren't you? No, I want real dick.
I wanted that dick in my face. And I did regret that subsequently. But at the time I was like, look, I have a dick. It's not a big deal. It's like, fine, you might as well do it for real. A fake one is going to look fake no matter what. You might as well just get the story for Graham Norton one day. And then I don't think I've been the same since.
Wow. So it is definitely, I assumed it must have been a prosthetic, but it looked very convincing. So
there you go. Yeah, that's why, because
the real
it's
thing.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jamie, what kind of makes Brighton such a prominent aspect of your films? You know, why do you kind of keep coming back to it, and do you think it will come up in your future projects?
It's just, I live here, so it's just really easy. And I just love it. I just think it offers so much as a location. I've shot a lot of my movies have been in Brighton. I feel like I've shot lots of different sides of Brighton as well. I've sort of done the sort of more fun, here's the pier, here's the lanes, here's this. And this was interesting to me because it was kind of like the slightly darker side of Brighton. I don't think we ever commit at any point to saying the film's set in Brighton. So I think, and that was kind of, that was a real choice with it. But this was, I don't want to say this was the Brighton I grew up in, because I didn't really sort of see the side, but it just offers so much. And it's such a great place to shoot. Like, people are really nice here and welcoming, and like, hey, can we shoot in your flat? Yeah, sure, come in. Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want to do? Yeah, okay, amazing. Oh, do you want to store some stuff in my neighbor? Yeah, that would be. Can we shoot in your warehouse? Yeah, great. And it's just, I think that's it. I've just always had such joyful experiences making movies in Brighton. And look, there is something, the days are long, and to be able to come home to family is definitely a perk, and to sleep in your own bed and that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, for me, I think I'll continue making movies in Brighton, because I still think there's sides of it I haven't shot. And I think it's evolving. It's constantly evolving, like anywhere in the world. And it's almost becomes more and more interesting every single day. So it's just, and I guess it's like a comfort zone, or it feels safe. Like, London has always I've shot one film in London, and it's always intimidated me just because of the scale of it. And I don't know it. I don't know I don't understand it. It's just a completely different world to me. So yeah, I wanted to stick with somewhere that I really knew, and felt just complimented our story. I felt like it needed to be a smaller city, like a more claustrophobic city, if you like.
Yeah. And had you, Sky, and George kind of worked together before on projects, or was this kind of a first time collaboration? Or
so me and George worked together. When was City of Dreamers? 2000.
I think it was something like 2000. I think it came out in 2012. We shot it in 2010, 2011, I think. So a long time. Jamie put me in my first ever film. Even before that, put me in my first ever, like, do you remember you were directing those adverts for like online adverts or something?
Yeah.
And I'd sort of reached out to some people that I knew that knew Jamie, I was like, look, I think I'm going to give acting a go. If anything comes up, and Jamie was like, yeah, come on, be in this. And so our kind of relationship started. Then I was probably 17, and then shot City of Dreamers when I was 18. Now I'm 31. Jamie's got a kid. We've got a whole story together, and then we're never going to work with each other again, which is a shame.
It's over. It's over.
It's been a lovely, lovely time.
We had a good run. And then George did. I produced a pilot. George did a TV pilot as well, which Sky was in as well. And I'd done another called Tracks, which Sky had done like 2 days. She met us in Venice. It was an interrailing movie. And I always say this about Sky, like she had the way her character is introduced in Gods, that slow motion walk in and kind of like the sound becomes echoing, all of that sort of stuff. Like I feel like not to that extreme, but Sky has that kind of effect when she walks into a room. I think people just take notice of her. She's got real charisma, and I find her fascinating in the most like wonderful, glorious way. I feel similar about George. So to put them together was just the easiest decision in the world. And I'm hoping we'll all get to do something else together. Maybe a sequel, maybe a prequel, maybe a limited series. Who knows? I think there's more stories to tell with those characters, but God knows if people want to see it. You know what I mean? But yeah,
that's a really cool idea to think of, like a kind of Bonnie and Clyde type kind of, because where the film ends off, it seems like that seems like quite a natural way to go. But yeah,
yeah.
When you link,
if we do John Wick 4 numbers, then I think we might have a Gods 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. But
game on.
We can beat John Wick. Every time I seem to make a move and it comes out theatrically, John Wick comes in to just like fucking annoy me. Like
that's the reason. That's the reason.
And I'm blaming Keanu Reeves to get it out there. I think John Wick 3 came out, or 2 came out when I had a movie called Tucked come out, and it just dominates everything. So, but I do like the John Wick movies.
They are good movies.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Maybe we could like partner up and we could like do like a multiverse type thing. Yeah, that could be cool. We'll pitch that. If you get Keanu Reeves on this, can you pitch that idea to him? Because I think he'd dig it. Yeah.
Thanks, next time we chat, I'll bring it up.
yeah, definitely do that. Yeah.
Bringing it back to Sky, and obviously she's not here, but kind of why was her character known just as Tattoo Girl? That's all she's credited as, right?
Yeah. That was a big conversation that we went like in the development stage. Like it was inspired by like like Drive, Kill Bill, Layer Cake. This idea of the familiarity that comes with a name, like, and we had a huge list of names for her because like it was always like we introduced this character with it all started with this fucking tattoo, right? And that was kind of the element of mystery that brought. We thought was fascinating, and we really wanted to hold on to that throughout the movie, almost like playing with this idea of, is it real, is it fake, or is he high, is this one big fucking trip or whatever? And then as soon as we started like giving that character a name, and we said, Sky, go off, do a list of names. And she had a list of names, we had a list of names, and we sort of, Linda, Jean, Maggie, whatever it is, all of these names. And it just, as soon as we did that, it kind of, we lost a little bit of the mystery with it. So we kind of all made the decision to, that we weren't going to sort of give her a name, if you like. And that felt like it was actually giving that character more power and making that character more powerful. But it went through, and because we also knew, like, we were like, people are definitely going to have a dig at us for not like giving you a name, like it's going to be a thing for sure. So we wanted to make sure that we sort of at least like trialed a bunch of names, had lots of conversations about it. But I think I'm right, George. There was never like a name that was like, there wasn't even like an almost, was there? It just, we couldn't get to anything that just felt right.
Yeah, absolutely. There was nothing felt right. Because I imagine when you're first writing it, Jamie, when you write that line, it will start with this fucking tattoo. If you're in the zone you're writing, you're not going to sit there for 20 minutes, but is it a Gina? Just go, right, Tattoo Girl, we'll name her later. And then suddenly that creates a mystique. That creates the sort of wonder about it. And that's infused in the script. I think that's almost one of the best things about the script as well, that any theories that people came up with, like, is it a dream? Is it a trip? Is Charlie just losing his mind the whole way? Like, there's evidence for all of these different theory. I had like 4 different theories about the ways it was going. And every time you go back into the scripts, you go, well, there's evidence for for my case here, but there's also evidence for your case there. And I think Tattoo Girl as a name is one of those little bits of evidence that's just like, if you have a hypothesis as to what this story is really about, is a little slice of evidence for you if you need it. And yeah, I thought it was a really sort of compelling idea.
So moving on to Charlie, George, like, was there any kind of personal experience you brought to, bringing Charlie alive?
Um, Certainly, he was one of those characters that, again, when you kind of get Jamie kind of pitched me the idea of the thing, and you start imagining this kind of strung out heroin addict, and you have these images of him, and then when you start reading the script and see that he's not that immediate kind of bias that I have towards characters like that, or just preconceived notions, it then just became a sort of about bringing it as close to me as possible, whether that's sort of rhythms of speech and being, and just there wasn't anything necessarily too remarkable about Charlie. So he can be as sort of boring and facetious as I am. And I think, especially in this style of movie where Jamie allowed us to improvise quite a lot, to give yourself even more work by, looking outside for like a huge source of inspiration outside, can sort of do you a disservice at that level. That I think it's more helpful and more sort of true to the character to keep it as close as possible. Yeah.
You mentioned about and Jamie, like, being kind of more free to improvise there. Was that quite difficult at times, or did you feel like it made that your character could have a lot more room to breathe,
Yeah, definitely a lot more room to breathe. I always tend to. I never studied acting school or anything like that, so I'm pretty loose with text anyway, just naturally. I kind of have to fit it into the way that I'm seeing it. And I suppose because I started working with Jamie very early on, and he was very much like, yeah, this is the bare bones. Like, as long as you're in the theme of this, like, go ahead. I find that my sort of comfortable space. So when I get to set back into that and know that I can go off on a tangent or change paragraphs here and there to make it fit more, that's where I like to think that I do my best work, because there's a huge comfort level with it. So yeah, definitely not a detriment for me anyway. I'm sure it's a nightmare in the edit for you, Jamie.
Not really, because I think we know it going into it. Like, I'm a firm believer. So I've always sort of said, I think like 90% of directing is casting. I think if you nail your and this goes across the board, from I think someone who has 1 or 2 lines is equally as important to the lead, because we've seen it in numerous TV shows and films where someone's come in and delivered the worst line in the history of the world, and it's completely taken you out of that film, and you become very aware of your surroundings, and that you're watching a film, and then you've got to work to get back in. So I think once we make that decision to cast someone, then we're handing the reins over. It's there, like, we've done that bit, that we had that choice, we had the options, we've committed to someone. Now you've got to give them that sort of freedom to play with it a little bit, because they're the character, they are the character, you chose them. So yeah, and I certainly as a writer, I'm not precious about anything I write. I don't think every line of dialogue I write is the greatest line of dialogue like in history at all. I think like George said, it's like a blueprint, or the bare bones of like, this is what the scene's about. I think this is pretty good, but like, take it, do what you want with it. As long as we still get a version of that scene, 9 times out of 10, it's always going to be better to allow actors to put their own sort of touch on it and improv. So something I've done on all films, and George and Sky and Joss and everyone's great at improv on this movie. So that made it a lot easier as well.
One of the big things I noted about Gods was the supporting cast is really strong. I thought, obviously your leads are pretty strong as well, but to have a supporting cast, that does so well,
Nice.
is quite impressive. Did you kind of write these parts with the actors in mind before casting, or? or was it a kind of more kind of idea of a character without a real face to it?
No, I think we kind of knew. I knew we wanted to get Jordan in for a bit. I knew I wanted to get April in for a bit. Yeah, sort of Joss, Alice Lowe. I'd always wanted to work with Alice. Like Alice, we shot everything one day. It was our first day shooting, so we did like 16 pages of her in a day, and it was insane. So no, I think it and Joe Wilkinson, like that was a late idea. Like I remember we were like, oh, it'd be really cool if we had a scene with Joe, and maybe he was just at these meetings or whatever. And we were like, that's great. And I remember we wrote that like in a day, and then we just sent it to Joe and was like, I don't suppose you're around tomorrow to come and do this. And he was, and it was amazing. You know, he was on set for a couple of hours or whatever, and we got that character and that scene in the can. So it was kind of like, again, lucky that I've been able to work with some incredible actors who I can just drop a text to and be like, hey, got this fun little part. Would you be up for coming and give us a couple of hours? And yeah, I think everyone we asked said yes, which was great.
And George, question for you: was that your real hair in the film?
It was, mate. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, oh, it looks too good to be a wig, you know. But then I saw you got the short hair, and I thought, oh, maybe, but
oh, bless you. Yeah, no, that was my hair for a long time, and it was even after that. I had long hair all the way through COVID, and then I got a job playing a soldier. He turned up on the first day, and sorry, bud, they cut it all off, and I've kind of left it behind me ever since. I was like, this is a new me. Sure, I don't play as many like funny characters with normal hair, which is annoying, but it is what it is.
It was so long, wasn't it? Like the scene where you're
like down here.
It was crazy long. Yeah.
Kieran's is pretty long at the back.
Oh, well, yeah. I've got a bit of a party in the back, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a party in the back. It's fantastic. The party I want to go to. I like that. That's a fantastic head of hair you got on you. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much. So my final question for you both is kind of what's next? Personal projects, anything, yeah.
You want to go first, George?
Sure, yeah. I've got 2 shows coming out this year. One on Paramount Plus, a period drama called The Doll Factory, based on a book. We filmed it in Ireland last year. I think it's gonna be really good. I've seen very few little things, and it's looking really, really lovely. So I'm really excited about that. And then I think later in the year, a show called Masters of the Air, sort of the next in the Band of Brothers series. It's going to be on Apple TV. We filmed that ages ago, but it's a big old beast, so it's taken a hot minute. But yeah, I think that's coming out towards the end of the year.
And
I've never heard anyone say a hot minute. What's the difference between a hot minute and a minute?
Well, you don't want a cold minute, do you? You don't want a room temperature minute.
Yeah, a minute's a minute. I don't get it. Is this a wanky LA thing? What's this? Where you pick that up from?
A hot minute. I tell you what, you answer the question and I'll find out.
Yeah, Google that.
Who
said that?
Yeah.
I am just getting ready to head to America to do my first American movie. So I literally fly out on Wednesday to Recce, and then I'm back for a bit, and then I shoot all of July. So yeah, that's the biggest thing I've done. Yeah, I got like 26 days to shoot this movie. So yeah, I'm heading out to do that one. And then I've got another TV thing that I'm trying to put together for when I'm back. So yeah. That's
where in America are you shooting?
LA, Pennsylvania, and Texas. So yeah, it's a road movie. So and then we're doing a lot of cheating where we can. But it's a tricky one because like it's kind of like a story about a guy who literally drives across America. And I've been to LA and I've been to New York, but like I don't know what Idaho looks like. I don't know what Texas. I know through watching movies. So like I know what Philadelphia looks like because of Rocky. So those are my references. So I'm trying to sort of get my head and do my research around like the landscape of America, because America is quite big. Who knows?
Oh, it's enormous, yeah.
It's quite big. So yeah, but I've got an amazing team on it as well who are very supportive. So Can't wait. I've wanted to make movies in America since I was a kid, so I don't know how it's going to go, but I give it my best shot and see what happens. There's no one gets slapped in the face with a willy in this one, so there's
That's
none
why
of
I'm
that.
not in it.
That's yeah. Did you find out about Hot Minute? Did you, George?
I didn't find out the sort of etymology of where it came from, but I can offer you guys this, that it can mean either an extremely short period of time, an unspecified period of time, or a long period of time. So used interchangeably with a minute. You know, I used it right.
Can you say a hot hour?
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, you did use it right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, but you said
can
period
also
of time,
use
innit? Can I
red
say
hot minute?
What does that mean? Like the
Just
last
an
minute
alternative
ever.
form of hot minute.
Gold, this is, isn't it? Absolute gold.
Yeah.
Gold standard content.
I'm going to start using it every day now. Just
yeah,
hot minute.
Red hot minute.
Yeah, give me a hot minute. Red hot minute. There you go.
Red hot minute. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, guys. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I wish you the best of luck in future projects.
Thank you so much, man.